Hello friend, welcome back to your favorite Diesel Mercedes YouTube channel. Let's go together today in this video to look on very famous vacuum system which is on these turbo diesel Mercedes-Benz cars. And Mercedes-Benz definitely succeeded to confuse a lot of people and make it like a big mystery for a lot of mechanics. Why? Well, one of the reasons, if you didn't have a good schematics for that exact year, you might not even understand how it works and which line's supposed to do. On top of it, Mercedes-Benz kept upgrading it, so 1984 it's definitely completely different than, let's say, 1981. And you can search forums for those schematics, but for emissions, if you look for emissions, you might be lucky, and that schematics is actually on this sticker on your car. And somebody who will lift up this hood and really briefly look here will say, oh, that switch over valve, it's missing right here, right? Also the cruise control, but yeah, where is the switch over valve? So this will be definitely messed up, I know right away. I see some disconnected parts, right, like here. So, oh yeah, that can't be working correctly. Well, not necessary, because this is 1984, right, as we said. Here is the sticker. And if you know in detail these cars, you will realize that this switchover valve, it's missing because it wasn't here in the first place. It was actually in that late generations, and these cars end up in 1985, right? It was replaced with this electric switch over valve. There's also the secondary sticker here which confirms that this was made for 1984 California emissions. And if we briefly look at the whole thing, you definitely have to say, oh my god, what a mess, disconnected parts, all these vacuum lines. I have no idea what's happening here. This is way too much, right? So I will, on this vehicle, try to explain briefly or simply how it works. So this engine produces vacuum with the vacuum pump, which you see right here, and this is the main source, that tube of the vacuum. If you follow it, it's feeding the brake booster, and it has two exits here after this one-way valve. And if I will really simplify it, what do you see right here? One of those is basically feeding vacuum from these valves which are heading inside of the vehicle. So that will be basically the shut-off system for the engine, and if it's equipped with the power locks, it will be running the power locks and maybe some feature on the power seat. If you follow the other one, which is right here, you immediately see that it's feeding something else, right? This is basically valve which is on the injection pump, which regulates the vacuum here for transmission. This disappears behind the engine because it goes down to the transmission, and then it goes forward to here to those valves. This is the electric vacuum control valve, and this is electric switch over valve. And this one is communicating with this bypass valve and in charge of opening and closing EGR. And of course, to diagnose correct function is pretty complicated, and you better have at least this vacuum gauge or ideally this entire pump. But in general, let's say you even don't know if your vacuum pump is producing any vacuum, right? If it's working. Well, if it's not, you will have a very hard brake pedal. Also, the engine shut-off, which is using the vacuum, will not work, and you will have to shut off the engine by this lever. And what is correct vacuum reading right here on one of these ports if you use this vacuum gauge? Well, ideally that lever, right, goes all the way in that green, which is right here in that normal. If I have a good steady vacuum, it's right around that number 20. And as I said, that correct amount of vacuum is affecting many functions. One of them is that transmission. If you have a loss of vacuum, the transmission will have a very hard shifts, which is exactly case on this vehicle which I bought recently. So I will be looking at that, and obviously you will see videos about that. To make it even more fun, there are hoses, plastic hoses, which actually don't carry a vacuum, but it's the other way. They carry pressure. This one is the pressure hose, which is leaving the intake manifold and is basically for communication with the ALDA device. And we will talk about the ALDA on this injection pump later too. And I already know this system is completely disconnected and have a problem. If you look on this pressure hose, it's just sitting here and all that mess and oil is leaking out of it. That hose supposed to be hooked right here to the overload protection valve, which supposed to be deciding when it will send the pressure to the ALDA, right? And this is basically when turbo is creating bigger pressure in the intake manifold. This is sending pressure to the ALDA, and ALDA will compensate and send more fuel for those conditions. As you can see, that's completely disconnected. The turbocharger can be pushing, but it's all blowing out right here. Obviously, that will be another video for you later. And obviously, this all was built to satisfy a mission at that time and make it as easy as possible to use for average user. I'm completely going away from that. I will be simplifying and redesigning this whole system. Obviously, this will go, right? All these valves will go. I will not use some valve which is probably broken anyway. I will install our own gauge, so there will be a lot of coming your way. I hope this video was more helpful than confusing, because this system is really complicated. If you think you might need a bumper sticker for your Mercedes, they are for sale on eBay. I'm still wondering where I will put it in this car. I was thinking maybe right here, it looks pretty okay. Also this location, I'm putting it right here, it's pretty cool, I like it. So hopefully you will see it installed in the next videos. Thank you for watching today, my friend, and have a wonderful day.